Nowadays, a lot of the sample game is flipping starters and sending them out to bigger producers. And if you ever found yourself struggling with flipping starters, this video is for you. So yeah, today I got 5 unique ways to flip starters so the finished samples don't just sound like a pitched down, pitched up, slowed down, sped up version of the original sample with some extra elements, but like an actual unique sample that is often indistinguishable from the original starter. So, without further ado, and without talking much more, don't forget to like and subscribe, y'all already know. Before I get into these unique techniques that I use to flip starters, just comment something, because that helps push this video in the algorithm the most. So, whatever you can think of, bruh, comment like some emojis, or bruh, like, just comment whatever. Appreciate everybody who does that, but without further ado, let me show y'all these techniques. So the first technique I want to show y'all today is what I call the pattern octave method. Now that might sound hella confusing or just kind of like weird, but I'm gonna show y'all in a second and y'all gonna get what I mean. Okay, so the way it works is you will find yourself a starter just like this one from Clout, shout out Clout, and then you just drag it into your channel rack just like so. Put a note on C5 or C4 or really any other key you want to use, and then put a MIDI note 1 octave up of that. Now this plays sped up and 1 octave up, and this is just a normal pitch. And then together, another thing you can do is try the 4th or the 5th. So for C it will be like F and G. Pitch this down maybe. This sounds cool too. But most of the time it will only sound good if you pitch it up 1 octave. Now then what you obviously want to do is render out this MIDIs. I would advise you to render out the higher pitched MIDI and the lower pitched MIDI note individually, so you can then manipulate them individually again. For example, put different effects on the higher pitched one than on the lower pitched one, or maybe even reverse the higher pitched sped up one. Now one thing you have to keep in mind when doing this technique is that it will only work with samples that have like the same bass note throughout, or have like a 1/5 chord progression where like the bass note changes once. But if there's like 4 different bass notes, or the bass notes kind of alternate in a more complex pattern, this won't really work and will just sound weird. Now one last important thing about this technique is, for this to work, we have to make sure that the mode is on E3 generic and the time is set all the way to 0. Sometimes if you drag in samples, the time automatically sets itself for some reason. So make sure this is at 0 and this is at E3, and then you can change the pitch and actually do the technique and everything will pitch how it's supposed to pitch. Now you might argue that this is pretty much the same thing as just dragging in your starter and then just speeding it up like so. So you could do this too and then make it unique, make another version. And you technically have the same thing, but kind of sounds different. Like it doesn't sound that clean to me. I don't know what's going on, but there's definitely like a different pitching algorithm used in pitching, you know, your samples like so, or like speeding them up and slowing them down in the playlist, than the pitching algorithm used when pitching it in the piano roll. Very simple technique that I've talked way too much about at this point. So let's move on to the second technique that I want to show y'all today. Damn, bro, I've really talked like half an hour about this shit. The next way I like to flip starters is by using not new tone, also not Melodyne, but Sample Lab just sounds the best when it comes to manipulating samples. All you gotta do to flip starters with this is just dragging your starter like so, click OK, and as you can see, you got your MIDI notes of your starter right here. Now this is how the original starter sounds like. Shout out to Aiden. And now with this plugin, you can literally change all the notes however you want to. Like, and if you you play back in the plugin, it sometimes sounds a little bit, you know, like okay, I guess. But all you gotta do to get the full quality is go to this audio file thing and then drag your audio back in just like that. And now if we compare the quality of the original to the modified one, and keep in mind I heavily modified it. There's barely any difference quality wise. If you don't change the notes like over an octave, it will sound very, very close to the original quality of the original starter. This is really just the perfect tool to just fully let your creative mind flow and change the starter however you want to. Definitely try out Sample Lab, and let's move on to the next way of flipping starters that I want to show y'all. Next up, I gotta check. Okay, so this next way to flip starters might be a little lame or obvious, but I have to talk about some effects plugins you can use to flip starters in unique ways. Now, I would say the most common ones are obviously Portal and Shaperbox, so we're not gonna talk about those today, but about some more unique ones that you may not know or may not have thought of when it comes to, you know, flipping starters. The first one I want to show y'all is Unfiltered Audio Triad. The next plugin I got is EFX Motions. It's like a Shaperbox combined with a looperator combined with, yeah, that's basically it.
What is that?
As I'm recording this, I only got 2 presets done, so I got some more work to do. While we on the topic, another great way to flip your starters is my patcher plugin AMBITURE that I just talked about. In my biased opinion, the greatest way to flip starters, but actually really great to add some textures or ambiances or just some extra layers, which can often make a big difference. But let's get back to EFX Motions. If you want to know the sauce, it really all comes down to this repeat effects thing. Add some reverb. Add like a bit crusher. This sounds alright, but for the fact that I just like freestyle this and kind of flip this simple piano start into something much more unique and much more interesting, it should show that this plugin is definitely also one of the best flip starters or flip melodies. Now, if you want something free to flip starters, I got you as well. It is a plugin that I actually also use in the creation of AMBITURE, which is called KHS Reverser. Just play around with these 2 numbers and just see what sounds good. Like, but just reverse the sample in unique ways you may have not come up with by cutting the sample up and reversing it that way. But enough of the plugin talk. Let's move on to the second last way I want to show y'all to flip melodies, starters, or whatever you may want to flip. Now, this way of flipping starters either involves a plugin I showed a minute ago called Pollock Stretch, or just Edison if you don't want to download Pollock Stretch. About Pollock Stretch, it's a free plugin again that just stretches out and blurs out your sample. All you gotta do is just download it. I will leave the link in the description. Open it on a mixer channel, not in the channel rec. Drag your starter in, like so. Then just play around with these controls. And if you're done, just click render it out, and then drag the rendered audio file back into FL. It's literally nothing right there, something ran wrong. But the point I'm trying to make is you can then flip it again in the playlist however you want to. Okay, here we go. No, speed it up, cut it up, reverse it, whatever you want really. This sounds crazy already. if I now maybe even reverse this, put some more effects on it again, put some reverb on it and stuff like that, you can really get a unique result. But in case you don't want to use poly stretch or just want something a little different, you can also just use the blur tool in Edison. Open up Edison again, drag your sample in here, and then just use this blur tool right here. Just play around with these settings, preview right here. Maybe even blend it in a little bit. And then just drag it back into, why does this not work? What the fuck? Drag it back in like so. And you get a bit of a different result. Something that isn't that stretched or that crazy modified, but reverse it. Let's finally get to the last technique I want to show y'all, which isn't something crazy, but something a lot of y'all may not thought about, which is just combining starters.
Combination.
Like if someone sends a pack of like 10 starters, just look through the stems of all of them and see if you can maybe find something that fits or something that can fit and make it fit with different techniques in this video, like this blur thing where you can just turn it into like a texture and it will work as long as it has the same key, or using sample lab to just manipulate the starter so it fits with another one. Now I'm gonna show y'all an example of this. I got this guitar starter from Aiden again right here. Beautiful, but then I heard this starter. Obviously different chords, different key, but I thought to myself, why am I not just taking the bass notes and matching these bass notes with the first guitar starter with Melodyne or Sample Lab like this? And then obviously layering, you know, a bunch more things to then end up with this sample. That wraps up today's pretty long video. These videos take a long time to make. Just liking, commenting, subscribing, and turning on notifications, which altogether literally takes 30 seconds, is much appreciated. Thanks to everybody who does that and helps me out. Also make sure to check out my AMBITURE patch plugin that I mentioned in this video alongside with the whole AMBITURE bundle. There will be a free beta version of the whole bundle in the description for you to try out, alongside with a free, very stripped down version of the AMBITURE patch plugin for you to use as well. Thank y'all for watching and sticking around, even though I haven't really uploaded that much in the last few months. I'm definitely gonna get back to uploading every week from now on. So again, don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss these videos. See ya next week. I'm out.